Thank you for joining us. I'm Felicity Ezewike. The news begins with update on the End Bad Governance protest. Earlier on Friday, a candlelight procession was held in honor of some Nigerians who lost their lives during the End Bad Governance protests. Reports indicate that at least 21 people were killed across Abuja, Kano, Niger, Borno, Kaduna and Jigawa during the demonstrations. News Centre's Bettina Uweli has details.
During the protests, Nigerians took to the streets in large numbers to voice their frustration with the state of the economy. The removal of the fuel subsidy and other recent policies have significantly driven up the cost of living in the country.
Gone are the days when our people have been docile. I can tell you for a fact that this protest has demonstrated that our people are now very awake. The 10 days protest is coming to an end tomorrow. They should be told in very clear terms that we have just started. It's either we practice democracy or we practice democracy. If the government fails, refuses, or neglects to accede to our demands completely, we will return on the streets. That I can assure you.
A candlelight procession was held to honor the memory of activists who lost their lives in the fight for better living conditions. The organizers took this opportunity to also call for the release of the hundreds of protesters currently detained in security facilities across the country.
Today, we are marching to mourn those who have been killed. We believe that why they were killed is simply because they dared to come out peacefully to protest. I would like to urge all of us solemnly to observe 1 minute silence in their memory.
Despite a human barricade set up by the Nigerian police to prevent protesters from reaching the Alausa secretariat, one thing is clear. Nigerians are fed up with bad governance. The hope is that genuine change will soon become visible for everyone. In Lagos, for News Central, Bettina Uweli.
Normalcy has returned to Zaria in Kaduna State, northwest Nigeria, following the relaxation of the 2-day curfew recently imposed by the state government. Recall that protesters had clashed with security operatives who were enforcing the curfew on Monday, which led to the killing of a teenager in Samaru, Zaria. News Centre's Emmanuel Bagudu reports.
This is Zaria, now calm, unlike few days ago, when soldiers and other security agencies clashed with protesters, forcing the government to impose a curfew in Zaria and Kaduna metropolis. Following the easing of the curfew, residents returned back to their normal businesses. Some, however, faulted both government's action and that of the suspected hoodlums responsible for the clash.
But it's not been easy staying indoors. You know, most people go outside. You know, Zaria is an educational town. You go outside, you go and look for what to eat. You know, so putting us indoors, trust me, it's going to really cause a lot of Herculean task for one to feed himself and his family, you know. It did happen during Jonathan regime. We were coffee for like close to a week. Most people suffered. Even it's just that these bandits or these hoodlums have hijacked it. They are just kids that just grew up after Jonathan. Because after that Jonathan, we learned a lot of lesson. You know, traders had perishable goods, that they lost perishable goods and stuff like that. I've been with lots of people that will tell you that the next time they start any uprising, they will deal with people that wants to protest because they really lost a lot.
Lokacin farko an yi zanga-zangar lumana mun je gidan sarki mun kai kukan mu ya ce zai kai kukan mu kuma Allah da za a saurara. To muna sa ran mu ji kyakkyawan sakamako daga shugaban kasa ana zai magana sai muka ji aka san haka.
Mu dai muna godiya ga wannan gwamnati da ta sassa mana zaman gida saboda mene zamantakewan da ake na zamantakewa na gida ya kai intaha mutum ne ya tayi kullun sai ya fita ya je nemo abin da zai ci an zo an kulle shi amma mun gode ma Allah da aka sake mu.
Residents also believe that while government is trying to tame insecurity in the country through curfew, they should also listen to the demands of the protesters. In Zaria, Kaduna State, for News Central, I am Emmanuel Bagudu.
Nigerian women have voiced their outrage over the widespread hunger and hardship which has gripped the country. Some of them converged on the National Stadium in Abuja to express their displeasure. My colleague Joshua Imarai reports on the situation.
Women from all over the Federal Capital Territory have come together united by their cry of hunger and frustration. They say the current economic hardship is not only severe but also unbearable, and its impact hitting their families hard.
I will have the opinion that the president's speech failed to address the clamor for security, for government accountability, for rising hunger crisis, for surging inflation rates that are crippling Nigerians' ability to service the country, and the violent repression of peaceful protesters that have been happening in the last period.
For me and my sisters, we cannot just be watching our children being tear gas. Who doesn't? Even this morning they were tear gas.
Before he come, we dey buy rice 700, 600. That time we dey cry say food too cost. But now, mudu of rice 3,000.
The school fees is cost. Everything they cost. Rice 2,005. Corn 1,000. Everything they cost. Now, but transport, everything cost.
As they gather in large numbers, the women are calling on the government to urgently address their demands, citing the rising cost of living as a major concern. In Abuja, reporting for News Central, I am Joshua Imarai.
Thank you, Joshua. Joining us now to discuss issues surrounding the protest is former Director, State Security Services, Dennis Amakre. Dennis, thank you for joining us. I want to start with your response to the demand for the dismissal of the Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, in response to the killing of protesters. I think I might just add to that your worries about the alleged continued detaining of protesters.
Thank you for having me. You see, we cannot make this an emotional thing. If the director, the Inspector General of Police, had sent out his people and somebody was killed, I think the decision to resign or not to resign depends on him, because you cannot say that he should resign and then he go ahead and resign. It's not done that way. You remember when the American president, former President Trump, was shot, because of the laxity of the Secret Service and because of the investigation that followed it. The head of the director of the Secret Service, Chetul, was, she resigned on her own. So if there is an investigation and they find out that the police was culpable, and then of course this is going to be congressional investigation. That's the House of Rep or Senate, and they discover that yes, some people were just killed without any kind of cause. Then it is left for the Inspector General to decide whether he wants to resign or not. And of course, his boss will even tell him to resign if they discover that he was culpable.
All right, let me rephrase that question again. That's one aspect of it. I want to pick your brain as someone who has experience. From your wealth of experience, what does experience tell you about the justification for the call for him to resign, based on what you've seen of the protests, the people that died, the handling by security agencies?
Well, I think one thing we have in Nigeria is that very rarely we see public officers resigning. From my experience, I have not seen a lot of them, even those who have been caught, either converting public funds to their own, will keep on trying to see if they can go ahead and circumvent the whole system. So I really have not seen. But you see, we have to follow process. And if we are following process, and by either calling for this, people died, who are these people? Because right now it's in the realms of rumor. If people actually died, who are they? Who are they? And then, of course, let the Senate or the House of Rep come up with a panel or a committee to investigate. And then if they find out that this is true and these people were killed, not when they are looting, because I think that's another area you have to think about.
You're saying the number, the killings might still be rumor at this stage. Does that mean you doubt the credibility of a body like Amnesty International that has accused the Nigerian security forces of killing at least 21 protesters during these protests? So I even put the figure higher.
Yeah, what I would want Amnesty International to do is to come up with a list of the people that were killed. Show us the list, show us the bodies, because it's all in the realms of rumor. In security, we don't deal with that. We deal with facts and evidence. So, Amnesty International, wherever they are, maybe in London, trying to stay there to tell Nigerians that 21 people are dead and stuff like that. We want to see the list. We want to see the bodies, and we want to see their families.
I do believe we have Amnesty International here in Nigeria.
This was the same, Felicity,
sir.
Listen to this. This was the same controversy that we had when NSAS happened. Because when NSAS happened, they said some people were killed. Yes, definitely. We saw policemen, soldiers shooting. But what people should always think about is to keep evidence. If possible, video evidence. Use your telephones, take a picture of the wounded, of the dead, which will be used in panels that were set up later. But not to just say, oh, people have died and 40 people died.
You do have valid points, but then again, one would argue that from day one of this protest, the media has been covering it. We've seen live footage of tear gas being put out on protesters. We've seen the army come out to acknowledge that a 16-year-old boy was mistakenly shot dead during the protest. So however you look at it, whether it is mistakenly or intentionally, the loss of one life is as important as there can be. So what would be your recommendation, aside from asking Amnesty International and other bodies to come up? We do have security agencies, and then we have these protesters that have come up to say, these are the people that have died. In that procession that we showed earlier, there were pictures of people who had died during this process. So I'd like your recommendation. If you were to be in the shoes of these protesters, what would you be asking? Would you be asking for the resignation of the IGP, or you'll be asking for something else?
Asking for the resignation of the IGP is too early to call. It's too early to call. What I will expect the protesters to do now is to get solid evidence. What are the names? Where is the body? Where is it right now? Where is the body of the person that died? Who are the family members and stuff like that? Even the press can help us investigate. It's not just saying it. Let the press go to the families of these people, talk to the mother of the child that died, so that we have all that together. And then when there is an investigation, you bring it out. And I think the IGP, if he is culpable, will be forced to resign. Why not?
All right, Dennis, thank you as always for obliging us with your time.
Thank you for having me. If
you've just joined us, you're watching Tonight. A reminder of our top stories. Candlelight procession holds in honor of those killed during the End Bad Governance protest. Bandits kill over 30 in fresh attack in Ukum local government area of Benue. House of Representatives appoints joint committee members on petroleum industry probe. And Mali orders Swedish ambassador to leave within 72 hours. At least 30 persons were feared dead in an attack by suspected local bandits supported by armed headsmen on Ayati community in Ukum local government area of Benue State. It was gathered that the marauders stormed the community Thursday night at about 11:30 p.m. when the people had gone to bed and killed most of the victims in their homes, while some of them that managed to escape were chased into the bush and murdered. Meanwhile, the state governor has condemned the fresh attack. He says his administration would continue to use lawful procedures to protect Benue people. Former President of Nigeria, Olusegun Obasanjo, says the country will not progress towards achieving its goals unless leaders and citizens embrace what he termed moral rearmament. He also warned that Nigeria is sitting on a keg of gunpowder that could explode if the nation fails to take courageous and decisive steps to address its numerous challenges. Obasanjo made these remarks when he received 6 members of the House of Representatives who are co-sponsors of bills proposing a single 6-year term rotation of the presidency between the North and the South. He deemed the demands of End Bad Governance protesters as very legitimate, stating that the government should heed the people's grievance and cease pretending that all is well. Former Commonwealth Secretary General and leader of Nigeria's Elders of Thoughts, also known as the Patriots, has called on President Bola Tinubu to set in motion the process of obtaining a new constitution for the nation. This followed their meeting with the president at the State House in Abuja, where they say the nation's current constitution does not address Nigeria's challenge of a multi-ethnic and multi-religious society, thus making the nation incapable of harnessing its potentials.
The colloquium unanimously adopted a view which they requested should be conveyed to you, Mr. President, and to the National Assembly. The view was that Nigeria needs a new legitimate Nigeria People's Democratic Constitution, that the present Constitution is illegitimate and cannot deal effectively with the myriad challenges facing this country. In other words, that our present governance system needs to be restructured.
Speaker of the House of Representatives, Abbas Tajuddin, has appointed members of a joint Senate House committee charged with investigating allegations of economic sabotage within the petroleum industry. This announcement was made in a statement issued on Friday by a spokesman for the House of Representatives, Akin Rotimi. The appointed members include Julius Ihovere, who will serve as co-chairman and House leader, and the committee members, Iduma Igariwe, Boyega Ishiaka, Sada Soli, Fatima Tauba, Tunji Rahim, and Patrick Umar. The committee is also expected to commence its work immediately with a clear mandate to ensure accountability and transparency in the sector. To health matters now, the establishment of a medical facility at the Plateau State University, complementing the one at the University of Jos, has been identified as a significant investment in the state's healthcare sector. Governor Caleb Mufwang said this initiative is crucial in ensuring a healthier population, which in turn will lead to increased productivity. News Centre's Chizoba Anyowe has the details.
See what the Lord has done.
This marked the beginning of the brief ceremony to hand over medical supplies valued at over $400,000 to the government of Plateau State. The donation was based on a needs assessment conducted in Plateau State by the US-based William Widows and Orphans Foundation in collaboration with the US-Nigeria Law Group and the Solomon and Mary Lar Foundation.
Not only is this the first delivery of brand new medical supplies here to the specialist hospital in Plateau State, but it is the beginning of many supplies for hospitals throughout the Plateau State.
It's a privilege for us to do this. Our first intervention here was under the Diarrhea Administration, where we donated $80,000 worth of HIV medicine. Today, by God's grace, we are donating $400,000.
They have said that the United States government needs to intervene more in what is happening with our displaced persons. Our displaced persons need rehabilitation, reintegration, and they need help.
For the use of the people of Plateau State, for the advancement of their health, and of course for the enhancement of their productivity.
While expressing gratitude for the supplies, the governor emphasized the pressing need to enhance the health sector on the plateau.
The investment in medical education has become a very critical matter, and we must take it with all seriousness. But the entire spectrum of the health sector, we are looking for improvements from the primary health care facilities. Unless we build the capacity of the health sector from the primary level, we will not be able to get it right.
The recipients of this gesture were visibly moved.
I'm speechless. All I could say is just thank you.
I want to thank the governor for what he has done today. I really appreciate.
As time progresses, all eyes will be on the governor to see if he can translate his words into action for a healthier plateau, especially if the adage, health is wealth, holds true. In Jos for News Central, Chizoba Anyonwe.
Many thanks, Chizoba. Nigeria needs enhanced routine immunization practices to tackle the issue of about 2.2 million unimmunized children, particularly in insurgency-ravaged Northeast. This formed part of submissions by experts focusing on immunization budget tracking, accountability and sustainability, aimed to address the needs of zero-dose children and missed communities in Benue. News Center's Umaru Kirawa completes the report.
Rejection of immunization by most communities in northern Nigeria remains a major issue for health experts. Some locals still fear the immunization exercise, given several reasons not limited to the free nature of the intervention, insisting they have to purchase medications even for headache when they are sick. Authorities are worried with this development.
Prevention is better than cure. Every mother will know the hardship she's going through when her child is sick, in terms of going to the hospital, in terms of time wasting, in terms of the money, especially now when the economic situation is really very hard. So getting your child immunized will save you a lot of difficulties.
Almost 2.2 million children are unimmunized in Nigeria, and it's a case of concern. And in Borno State, unfortunately, we have very high number of zero-dose children. And if the right steps, the right actions are not really taken, honestly, the impact will not be good.
This session represents a critical advancement in evidence-based advocacy, aiming to influence immunization financing and promote more effective health interventions across the country.
Our message to the parents, our message to the governor of Borno State, His Excellency and the Deputy Governor and the members of the State Assembly is to also ensure that they allocated adequate funding for immunization and also release the money so that our children in Borno State will be better immunized and they become healthy and prosperous and productive.
We have 8 zero-dose LG and it has been rebuilt
we don't have insecurity in these LGAs. And yet, they are among the zero-dose LGAs. Then we need to ask ourselves, what is the issue?
The stakeholders encourage continued analysis of subnational immunization and primary health care budgets and financing using evidence-generated data towards taking deliberate steps to improve the system. In Maiduguri for News Central, Umaru Kirawa.
In Nigeria, the desire for a lighter complexion has become a national phenomenon with devastating consequences. A widespread use of skin lightening products has led to a growing health care crisis. From skin cancer to liver damage, the consequences of skin bleaching are stark. Dermatologists warn that the chemicals used in skin lightening products can cause irreparable harm. News Center's Adeshewa Odushoga tells us more.
Skin bleaching has become a widespread phenomenon in Nigeria, particularly among young women. According to a recent survey, over 70% of Nigerian women use skin lightening products, making Nigeria one of the largest markets for these products globally. Social media platforms are flooded with advertisements and testimonials promoting skin bleaching, further fueling the trend. For Toyin, skin bleaching has been a daily ritual for the past 7 years. According to her, she says it gives her a clear complexion and protects her from the sun. But over time, her skin has become irritated and dark spots have appeared. She's less than 40 years old, but she seems much older. Dermatologists have since raised alarm over the growing trends of skin bleaching, which can sometimes lead to life-threatening diseases, especially for women.
And, they may just end up complicating issues.
In Nigeria, lighter skin is often associated with beauty, success, and prestige. The media perpetuates this notion, often featuring light-skinned models and celebrities. Additionally, the desire for social acceptance and self-esteem drives many to seek a lighter complexion.
Healthy skin is beyond putting on cosmetics, which is what a lot of people think skin is about. It starts actually with good diet, a good and balanced diet. What you put in matters.
It's very essential that we're able to have appropriate treatment for skin diseases and early. So early diagnosis and treatment is essential to be able to have the best outcome. And that's where seeing a dermatologist is important.
Some of the health consequences attached to skin bleaching include skin cancer, liver damage, permanent scarring, and disfigurement. Dermatologists have called for a combined effort to promote natural skin color and public campaigns that highlight the dangerous allure of skin bleaching. In Lagos for News Central, Adeshewa Odushoga.
Despite efforts in Nigeria to improve educational access, significant disparities remain between the male and female gender. Women, particularly in rural areas, are often faced with challenges that have led to alarmingly low literacy rates amongst a higher percentage of them in the country. News Center's Chidinma Ona examines this issue in this report.
Statistics posted by Statistens revealed that women in northern Nigeria have the highest percentage of women who cannot read, with Sokoto leading the charge by 78.3%. According to analysts, this is partly a result of the belief in those areas that women are made for more domestic roles outside of the classroom or learning environment.
Women are treasured, but treasured in a very different way that affects their social emancipation, as it were, when you define that from a global context. So this is exactly the reason why illiteracy rate among women in the north will be significantly higher than those in the south.
Available reports, however, suggest that the future of learning in Nigeria may be at risk if access to education for all genders isn't prioritized and guaranteed.
I mean, I've had instances where the friends that are made, male, and then they would have their sisters. The male, we all went to higher education together. But the female, quite a number of them by 17, 18, were married. So until we tackle this issue of child marriage, I'm not sure that we're going to see much growth in terms of the literacy rates.
While efforts are ongoing to entrench equal access to education for both genders, many Nigerians are clear on the value of education for women and young girls.
Education is valuable in terms of it helps us to do more than what the country has tagged women to be. Mainly just to get married and start bearing children and stuff. But it gives us more power. It enlightens us to know our rights. It enlightens us to know what to do in some certain situations. And mainly, if women are not important, God won't create them.
The same way you push hard for male child to go to school, to get educated and be informed, same way you should push for women also. We have women doing beautiful things in the society. We have and the likes of them. We are a lot of them that are doing fine in society.
While the campaign to bridge the learning gap between the male and female gender in Nigeria continues, the notable strides made by well-educated women in the country may be a testament that efforts in that direction are efforts in the right direction. In Lagos for News Central, Chidimma Ona.
Thank you, Chidimma. The maritime sector in Nigeria is facing a major crisis due to a significant drop in vessel calls, exacerbated by the forex crisis and inflation. Terminal operators, shipping companies, truckers and customs agents are among those struggling to stay afloat as the volume of vessel calls decreased by 4.5% from 3,957 in 2022 to 3,778 in 2023.
When we are losing the maximization and capacity of our port utilization. That means we are losing jobs, or we are losing ability to be able to provide services. Once we are losing ability to provide services, that means some people are not adequately engaged. In other words, they are laid off. This will have a direct and negative impact on our employment of our teeming population of people otherwise will have been engaged in one thing or the other within the port environment system, or even beyond of that. And of course, this goes beyond the port, only the port environment itself. We are looking at the industry's lack of capacity, decline in optimum production, loss of revenue, loss of taxes, the much expected government revenue. All of these are all issues that can come out of our inability.
Find out more about addressing port operation challenges to achieve ease of doing business and trade facilitation on Maritime Radar, airing Saturday at 7 p.m. with a repeat broadcast on Sunday at 1 p.m. here on News Central. Sweden's ambassador to Bamako has been summoned and given 72 hours to leave Mali following a hostile statement by a Swedish minister. The diplomatic row on Friday came days after Sweden's Minister for International Development, Cooperation and Trade, Johan Forsell, said the government had decided to phase out aid to Mali. The Swedish Ministry for Foreign Affairs has yet to issue a public response to Mali's decision. This development follows Sweden's June announcement that due to the worsening security situation in Mali, it will close its embassy in Bamako by the end of 2024, with continued support for the region being provided from Dakar, Senegal. And in North Africa, the United Nations on Friday urged restraint after Libya's Tripoli-based government put its forces on high alert for an assault by fighters loyal to an Eastern-based strongman in the remote southern desert. Energy-rich Libya has been wrecked by unrest since the 2011 overthrow of dictator Muammar Gaddafi in a NATO-backed uprising. It is split between the UN-recognized government in the capital, Tripoli, in the west, and a rival administration backed by military strongman Khalifa Haftar that rules from Benghazi in the east. A 2020 ceasefire agreed after government forces repelled an assault by Haftar's forces on the capital has largely held until now. Let's go get the latest business stories from our business team.
Business news in association with Money Master PSB, the easy way to master your money.
In business, the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited has demanded a refund of 4.71 trillion naira from the federal government to settle outstanding debts used to import premium motor spirit, popularly called petrol, into the country. The claim was listed as exchange rate differential on PMS and other joint venture taxes on petrol products imported by the company between August 2023 to June 2024. This was disclosed by the Minister of Finance and the Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Wale Edo. Exchange rate differentials refer to the income accrued to banks or government agencies from the difference in value between two currencies at different times through foreign exchange sale and purchase prices. In East Africa, nervous investors are avoiding long-dated Kenyan treasury bills and bonds. Kenya's central bank data shows that such decline is putting more strain on the government's plans to pivot to domestic borrowing after scrapping controversial tax hikes. The latest debt sale on 1st of August saw the benchmark one-year treasury bill get less than a tenth of demand for the amount on offer. That weak demand is making it even more expensive and complicated to fund the debt-burdened government's budget. President William Ruto abandoned tax hikes worth more than 346 billion Kenyan shillings after protests that killed more than 50 people. The U-turn forced the Finance Ministry to hike local borrowing targets by 42% to 404.6 billion Kenyan shillings. A former Mozambique finance minister was convicted on U.S. criminal charges over his alleged involvement in a fraud involving $2 billion in loans to three state-owned companies to develop the African nation's fishing industry. Jurors found Manu Chang guilty of conspiracy to commit wire fraud and conspiracy to commit money laundering in the tuna bonds case following a 3-week trial in federal court in Brooklyn, New York. Chang plans to appeal the verdict, defense lawyer Adam Ford told reporters outside the courtroom. Prosecutors said shipbuilding firm Priv Invest paid Chang $7 million in bribes in exchange for approving a Mozambique government guarantee for loans to 3 state companies to develop the African nation's fishing industry and improve maritime security. The loans came from Credit Suisse and Russian bank VTB. And that's all thing on business news at this time. Thank you for watching. I am Perpetua Fasami Peter. The news continues shortly. Bye for now.
In sports, Nigeria's Sport Minister John Eno harps on positive despite the country's poor outing at the Olympics. Meanwhile, in football, Spain win Olympic men's football gold for the first time since 1992. Let's now join Favor Itwa for more updates.
Sports Update, brought to you by Corn Oil. Corn Oil, we go the extra mile.
In sport, Nigerian Minister of Sports Development John Eno says the country's disappointing outing at the 2024 Paris Olympics could be a turning point, urging the nation to see it as an opportunity for growth. Speaking at a press conference at the Nigerian Embassy in Paris, the minister emphasized that with renewed focus and determination, Nigeria could transform the poor show into a catalyst for future success.
And even today, we were still with the hope that Tobia Musan will just qualify, and then we can have this session and then still remain hopeful that she's going to be part of the finals and still imagining that something could happen. But how bad can it be? or bad. But let me start by saying that my hope is that we can, take advantage of this very bad moment, of this very poor outing, disastrous, you may say. You can take advantage of it and turn it to a huge positive for Nigerian sports. Turn it to a huge positive for Nigerian sports. And I say this because...
Meanwhile, Nigeria is here to record its first medal at the 2024 Games, making it one of the worst outings since the London 2012 Olympics. The 2024 Paris Olympics will end on Sunday, the 11th of August. Still talking the Olympics, Egyptian Olympian wrestler Mohamed Keshaw Ibrahim has been arrested in Paris for an alleged sexual assault. He was arrested for allegedly touching the posterior of another customer at the cafe. The Egyptian Olympic Committee EOC named Keshaw, who won a bronze medal at the Tokyo 2020 Games, as the team member who had been arrested. The EOC added he will be investigated by its ethics committee and could face a life ban from competition. Keshaw was beaten by Azerbaijan's Hasrat Yafarov in the first round of the men's 67-kilogram Greco-Roman wrestling on Wednesday. The EOC said he had been given permission to leave the Egyptian camp to watch the final of his weight category, but failed to return and turned off his phone. And now to football. Spain claimed Olympic men's football gold on Friday after beating host France 5-3 in extra time. Enzo Milot put France in front, but a Fermin Lopez brace and an Alex Baena free kick turned the final completely on its head. However, France staged a memorable comeback with Magnus Akiluche pulling a goal back before Jean-Philippe Mateta converted a stoppage time penalty awarded following a VAR review. That took the final into extra time, where Rayo Vallecano forward Carmelo emerged as a hero by giving Spain the lead again in the 100th minute of an absorbing game and then running away to seal their victory at the death. It is the second time Spain have won Olympics men's football gold after their victory in Barcelona in 1992 with a squad featuring Pep Guardiola and Luis Enrique. And to wrap up Source Update, Leo Castley has been appointed interim England manager for September's Nations League games as the Football Association continues to search for Gareth Southgate's permanent successor. The 50-year-old has stepped up from his role as England under-21 boss to replace Southgate, who resigned 2 days after defeat by Spain in the Euro 2024 final last month. Castley is a former Premier League midfielder who played for many clubs including Derby and Everton in a 17-year career. He moved into management and took charge of Coventry, Brentford and Birmingham on a caretaker basis before becoming England under-20 coach in 2020. Castley, who became boss of England under-21s and led them to the European Championship title in 2023 as they won the competition for the first time in 39 years. And that wraps it up on Sports Update. And Favour Itwa.
Entertainment news in association with Glow Unlimited.
Tonight on Entertainment News, Nollywood actress Iniedo has lost the ownership of the Netflix original Shantytown to the Nigerian filmmaker Chinenye Nwora, also known as Chichi. The Nigerian Trademark Registry and Nigerian Copyright Commission ruled in the favor of Chichi. GCM Giant Creative Media Limited, after a series of legal battles initiated by Iniedo and Mini Empire Productions Limited, MEP, the Trademark Registry rejected Iniedo's claims to the trademarks Scar and Shantytown, while the Nigerian Copyright Commission upheld Chichi's ownership of the copyright certificates for both the literary and audiovisual works of Shantytown. Hip-hop legend Snoop Dogg, pop star Billie Eilish and iconic rock band Red Hot Chili Peppers are set to perform at the Paris Olympic Games closing ceremony on Sunday. The August 8 report from the outlet revealed that the three artists will participate in the handoff of the Summer Olympic Games from Paris to Los Angeles, California, through a mix of pre-taped and live performances. Variety also noted that the closing ceremony will feature a stunt from the famous Hollywood actor Tom Cruise. At the conclusion of the ceremony, Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass will accept the Olympic torch and bring it home as she returns from Paris. The city will host the 2028 Summer Olympic Games. Snoop Dogg, Billie Eilish, and Red Hot Chili Peppers are all Los Angeles natives. Snoop Dogg previously carried the Olympic torch ahead of the opening ceremony of the Paris Games. That's all on Entertainment Tonight.
Now
Moving away from entertainment, the hashtag Dangote Refinery is trending as a press statement by the organization surfaced online to clarify that they never accused NNPC of not supplying them with crude and that their concerns has always been that NUPRC is pushing, but IOCs are not following the instructions to enforce the domestic crude supply obligation and to ensure that they receive full crude requirements from NNPC and the IOCs. This sparked a lot of conversations on social media. Let's take a look at some tweets. At Ayan Bisiat, Dangote Group have mastered the art of public outcry to driving their demands. Luckily for them, they have a government that is afraid of public criticism, a win situation for their business and the country. At Dr. Nwankike, can this administration even pretend to show little human face on the ongoing hardship in Nigeria? Must everything be about selfish interests? I hope Dangote and others take a stand in the next general elections. At Man of Peace. So what it means is that even if the refineries that belong to government or other private companies come on board, Nigeria does not have crude for them to refine. At Firebrand Flames. We stand with Alhaji Aliko Dangote. His success would alleviate the pains faced by Nigerians who go through what I call an annual ritual of queuing at fuel stations. Dangote is our pride, and we are praying for him. That's all on What's Trending.
That is all we have for you tonight. But before we go, let's take a quick recap of our top stories. Candlelight procession has been held in honor of those killed during End Bad Governance protests. Bandits have killed over 30 in fresh attack in Ukum local government area of Benue State. House of Representatives has appointed joint committee members on petroleum industry probe. We also brought you news that Mali has ordered Swedish ambassador to leave within 72 hours. Do send your eyewitness reports to the number that's on your screen now. You can do that as well by following us at News Central TV on all social media platforms. You can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV and on YouTube. As always, thank you very much for watching. Have a good night and a great weekend. Bye for now.